Hey everybody, welcome. It is Ask an Agent Anything. Thank you for being a little patient as we come in late, but we come in hot, heavy, and happy because we have an awesome, amazing. I'm so excited to get to know her because honestly, she just radiates cool, and her name happens to be my favorite color. So we have an amazing guest named Teal, but first, my all-time favorite. Hi, Renee. Welcome.
Hey, the co-hostess with the mostest. How are you, my love? What's happening?
I'm I'm doing wonderful. Today has been a weird day in my agent wholesaling world, and that's fine because I'm rising above it and I'm wearing my power hat.
I knew you were wearing your power hat. I got my power glasses on, so we're a team right now. It's all good. You wouldn't hit a girl with
Perfect. Do you
glasses,
want to? Right, right. We're bringing smart and powerful and beautiful all in once. Speaking of beautiful, I'm going to pull Teal up here. Do you want to introduce her?
Yeah.
Hi.
Amazing. Hi, Miss Teal. So
Hi.
welcome to Ask the Agent Anything. And this is Corianne and myself. As you both know, that we are agents as well as investors and of all different ilks, wholesaling. For myself, I do a lot of buy and hold and also small lot development. And that's part of why we had you on here, because you are not only a part of a community that we're all in, but you're also a flipper. And be proud, you are a new flipper, right? Am I right?
Yeah. So we just completed our first flip.
Oh my God. How was that? It's like,
Congratulations.
dare I
Thank
say
you.
something crass, right? Like you're a virgin. You're not a virgin
No,
anymore.
it was great. It was definitely a roller coaster. There's a lot of like up and down kind of moments, but in the end, everything ended up being really good. So even the downs were still, in retrospect, a good thing.
That was amazing, right? So
Yeah.
everybody's going to be dying to know, because so many people want to get into this game, whether it's just real estate as the umbrella. And what is your title? Are you a real estate agent? Are you an investor? Are you a flipper? Are you a wholesaler? And there's so many avenues you can go down, and you chose, I'm going to put a title on you at the moment just for the sake of the audience, but you chose flipper. So what
Yeah.
was that for you? What was that appeal to say, I'm going all in? Because there's a lot of risk,
Yeah.
to doing a flip, and a lot of moving parts. And there aren't
Mhm.
too many women that I know of that are doing it. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of start from the beginning. What had you actually be a yes to this and then follow through? You got on the court.
Yeah. Okay. So I grew up around construction. My father was in construction. Every house that we lived in, I don't think it was called flipping at the time, but we would buy a house for cheap. We would live in it for a period of time, sometimes up to 7 or 8 years. And then over that course, my father and his friends and people would come in to help pitch in to make the house really beautiful. Once it was finally complete, we would live there for literally like 1 month and then we would sell it. So I just grew up in construction. We had our kitchen in the garage, and then we had bathrooms over here, and your bedroom was under construction. So you had to go sleep in the living room. And I grew up like that. So for many years, always something in our house was under construction. So it wasn't like completely foreign for me because I grew up around it. But that being said, like I'm a girl, I went to hair school, I became a hairstylist. So it wasn't the career path that like I generally thought that I would go down. And I knew later in life I wanted to do hair because it's a very good business if you're busy and you can save up if you're smart. And I wanted to invest in real estate. I just didn't know what that was going to look like. And then the classic story goes, I was just watching HGTV. I saw Fix and Flip shows and, or Flip or Flop. I think that was the one that really got me going. And I just fell in love with the idea of it because I was like, wow, like I grew up around this. I have really great ideas and visions. There's a couple of girls that I follow online and I love their aesthetic. I love like what they can create and bring to life. And I just wanted to give it a try. And I don't know, I'm a little more ballsy and maybe brave than I probably should have been because I definitely jumped into the deep end. So yeah.
Yeah, say a little bit more about that. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, right? So
Yeah.
just because
So
we're on it, and this show is really about you.
okay.
What I hear you saying is that it kind of got into your DNA, right? Your dad was
Yeah.
around doing all this construction. We'll call it, he was fixing and flipping while you guys were actually living there. So that's a lot
Yeah.
of brawn, right? I don't know if that's the kind of thing
Yeah.
you want a child to experience, but hey, you did, and we all got our stuff, right? So it got in under your skin, and there was something about it after not only watching the TV shows, probably the money. A lot of people look and see, hey, I can do really well with this. But there probably was something about it, just the aesthetic, taking that like an ugly house, like the ugly duckling, and just making it beautiful, and the transformation. So perhaps that's what really
100%.
you.
I mean, I
And
think
I just want to say real quick before Teal, you take off, but also you're a hairstylist, which means creative
I was just gonna
entrepreneur.
say that.
Hello, like
look at all that artwork she has, right?
Thank you.
She's
No, I think
Yeah.
that just like me as a person, like that's what someone else had pointed out to me. I didn't even really notice it, but they were like, wow, you like to take something that is at its state and really elevate it, really improve it, really make it a lot better. And so yeah, I think that that's just who I am as an individual. I like to the moment I see houses on Zillow, because I actually really just like looking at the house on Zillow, even the ugly, especially the ugly ones. And I like looking at a floor plan and being like, oh, this wall needs to go, this could go here. Oh, if we could move that kitchen over here, this would be sick. I just think like that, and it's before anything has even been said. That's just how my brain kind of works. Is I just automatically, when I see something, I'm like, how can this be improved? How could this be better? I think that there's always room for improvement on things.
I mean, Corianne, they couldn't have said better, right? I just want to point out a detail here, because a lot of people get into real estate, whatever the title may be. Probably most people's entree is being a real estate agent, and get your license, become a real estate agent. But it's like those of us that have really been around for a minute, and for the audience that doesn't know, I've been a real estate agent in Los Angeles County for 18 years. And what's kept me in the game is transformation. So my niche has primarily been working with investors this whole time. So it's not just the pretty houses. It's not maybe even the money, because after a while you can kind of do the deals in your sleep. It's what is going to keep you in the game. And so early on for you as a flipper, it's tapping into that creativity that you have, that vision that you have, because honestly, I don't really have that. I mean, I'm pretty good at it after all these years, but it doesn't get me out of bed in the morning. And
no,
so
I'm passionate about it. Like I literally like think of like where we can find doors. Like I'm like, oh, like this should be like a different type of door, or like there was a cabinet and I'm like, oh, if we could just cut out the wood in this cabinet and put like glass that's kind of like a waved glass, like that would be so much better. Just I'm always thinking of stuff like that. I don't know, it just comes naturally to me. It's hard not to have my creative and artistic brain on.
And that's what I would encourage the audience to really tap into. Just it's going to be a while. It's going to unfold for you. It will change over time. But what is it that inspires you about real estate? It can't just be the money. It can't just be watching HGTV. After a while, if you choose this to be your career and you're just not in it for a quick buck, that what is that for you? And I encourage the audience to really either go back in their childhood or realize something that you're currently doing now, like Teal is, with hair and the artwork and the tattoos and everything, that that's a holistic part of who she is, and that will really keep you in the game. And almost more importantly, it will keep you inspired to the people around you that you want to do business with, because like is going to attract like. There's nothing worse than doing a deal with a grumpy old flipper who's just pissed all the time. Ask me how I know. So anyway,
and that's, I mean, clearly you were born for it, which just makes me happy. And you took the jump and took the immediate action. And I personally, I'm an artist too. I'm also a creative, and I took a jump for my first flip. And I can tell you it was the deep end because it had foundation issues and it was on a busy road. What was your deep end?
This was a hoarder house. And okay, yeah, like people think that they know when I say hoarder house, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen the TV shows. I totally know what a hoarder house is. You have no idea. This was like 8 hoarders got together and vaulted themselves into a chamber for like 90 decades. Like it was insane. There was nothing like this on TV. The woman she wouldn't even photo it because she was embarrassed. It's an illness, it's a disease. I'm not trying to say this to be unkind in any type of way. It's the truth, it's honesty. And it was a lot of work to especially someone like me who is brand new, total rookie, had no idea what I was doing. Like I walked in and I was like, I think there's a wall over there. And I think if it comes down, then this could be really beautiful. And I was really hungry. So Renee, kind of what to touch base back to what you were saying is I think no matter what you do in life, you have to find what you are passionate about. And when I first started doing hair, it was a really bumpy road for me too. It wasn't like I just walked into a salon, got a job really easily. I was turned down by 32 salons. I was so desperate. I went to Supercuts and they turned me down because I was just so new. And it was just a really bumpy ride. And then, 13 years later, I'm a very successful hairstylist. So same kind of thing with the flipping. I know that I'm very passionate about it. And I knew that even if it was going to be a lot of work, there was going to be days that I was going to want to quit. And there was going to be days that I was going to want to rip my hair out and lay on the ground and have a temper tantrum. But I also knew that I'm very passionate about this and this is what I want to ultimately do, and that you have to start somewhere. So even if it meant starting at the very hardest possible level of doing the most amount of work that you could possibly think of and dream of, then I was willing to do that because I'm that passionate about this industry and I know that I can do well in it. So that was just where I had landed. I was like, forget it. Let's just give it a go.
I love it. You know what? They broke the mold, Teal. They broke the mold when they made you because that entrepreneurial spirit. I'm of the belief that it's innate. You're either the kid with the lemonade stand or you're not, and it's in there for a lot of people that have it. It's not just I work for myself and I'm my own boss, but the actual entrepreneurial spirit. And I'm of the age that it wasn't cool to be an entrepreneur. When I was in high school, people were like, "What the hell is that? You can't get a job. You're not going to college." I mean, really, it was like you were like a loser if you were an entrepreneur.
When I was in high school, if you said entrepreneur, it meant that you were a drug dealer.
Right. Well, there you go. I mean, I grew up in Washington, D.C., so they don't immediately maybe go to drug dealing. They probably go to I don't know, money laundering, something like that. Like a tier up.
But it meant like illegal. You were like, oh, you're an entrepreneur. Like you don't want to say what you do, basically.
That's funny. I didn't even think about that. Maybe that's what that was. They were trying to tell me that, and I went right over my head. So, Corianne, what are you hearing? Because there's just even more. Teal is just all kinds of layers. I love it. I love it.
I mean, I think it's one thing to say, hey, there's a deep end, and that deep end is maybe something we didn't see, like a foundation, but at least it's clean, and all we got to do is put some elbow grease in and stuff. It's another thing to say, hey, I'll take on moving your entire life and basically 8 other people's lives, plus maybe some cat shit here and there. So I can't imagine how deep that deep end is. So when you first purchased the property, how was that process in general? Was it smooth as butter until you got in the door, or was there hiccups even on that way?
Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, in finding the property was a mission on its own. I was working with realtors. Now, mind you, this is also so pre-real estate for me. I had no knowledge of anything. All I thought was you go on Zillow, you find a property, you call someone who you know that's a realtor, they get you into the property. Hopefully you can buy it. And so it was a rat race, and it was a time where just people were overbidding on things that were horrible, that you were just looking at it how are you even going to make a spread on that? It just made no sense. So it was very challenging to, first of all, find a property. And then we had found this one. It was an off-market listing. Only me and a few other investors knew about it because, like I said, she was embarrassed. So she didn't want it posted, and she didn't want that many people coming through to see. She was just very serious buyers. So it was my realtors, coworkers, cousins, roommates, friend who found out about it. And then I found out about it. And they were like, are you interested in a hoarder house? And we had just been looking for so long. And I was like, I want to do anything. I don't care what I have to do. Yes to the hoarder house. And so I actually wasn't there. My best friend and my mom were in town, and I called them and I was like, you guys have to drop everything you're doing right now, and you need to go look at this hoarder house. So they call me immediately and they go, no, absolutely not. Do not do this. And I go, why? Let me see, how bad could it be? And they're like, Teal, it is beyond horrendous. We don't want to step inside of it even. And they're like, we were amazed to see it because it's you've never seen anything like this. It's insane. And so I was like, I love it. Let's do it. sign me up. And they're just like, no, like, please, no. And so I basically was just like, yeah. And so I put a blind offer in, and I put it for something high because in my experience with all these other investors and everybody who I was competing against, I was like, I want this deal. Like, I'm not going to freaking lose it. It's been so long since we've been able to find anything. And we're finally in a position where they're just talking to us. We have a very good, opportunity here to actually get this place. And so it was final or highest and best. There was no negotiations. So I just gave her everything that she wanted. I was like, just say yes to all of the contingencies, and we'll put it in. So we offered for 607, and their original list price was, or ask price was 589. And then we had a wind that one other investor put in around 6. So we didn't know if that was a little above 6 or a little under 6. So I was just like, put 607, that should solidify it. And if that doesn't get it, then it wasn't meant to be.
And that was it. And you got it.
But we got it. So it was a good number.
Yeah, you did.
I know.
Yeah.
607.
Yeah, you did.
607. So my
607.
birthday's 7/7, and my mom's, she's 6/23. We're both cancers, and we did this together. So I was like, we're just gonna take the 7 from my birthday, the 6 from yours, and hopefully the numbers of the universe work it out.
That's how you win the
That's part
lottery.
of being an artist. You're kind of crazy.
That's amazing. I love this part of the story. This is why we love having guests on, right, Corianne? I mean, we get to find those like nitty-gritty things. And listen, that's not that weird. I allow clients essentially to pick their numbers. So instead of it being like in real estate land, it's like 600. I'm picking the number 600. So it's like 600, and then okay, we'll go 625, and then 650. It's always, you kind of see these increment numbers, but all of a sudden when you see these random little numbers come up, it gets people's attention. So whatever you have to do to stand out. I love that part of the story. That's amazing. Sure. Oh my God. I mean,
and it's a solid place to get your deals is to tell people you're interested in the worst of the worst, and it can be off market. And so the fact that it was cousins, sisters, brothers, mothers, connection is where I see so many of those deals come from, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So you bought the property. I want to know more. What happened the first time you stepped foot in it? Was that during your inspection period, or was that after you closed?
Yeah, well, so after I had put the offer in, and I knew that they were going to kind of accept us, because I forget what happened, but something had gotten back to me that she was mostly interested in mine. I think my realtor had told me, like, she's reviewing all the offers, but she mostly likes yours. They're probably going to accept you. And so I called my best friend, because she was staying with my mom. She doesn't live here. So she was with my mom helping her out. And I called her and I was like, hey, like, can we go back over to that house? I'm going to come pick you up right now. And you have to go up and knock on the door because they saw you yesterday, so they'll recognize you, but I have to see it. I have to see it. Like, you got to get me in there. And so she was like, yeah, for sure. So we went the next day, and we were just really pleasant, very friendly and very sweet. And I just let them know, like, please don't be embarrassed. Like, we're very serious about your home. And like I said, it's all if you leave, whatever you leave behind, we will take care of. Like, please, like, just don't worry about it. Like, I just really want this house. And they were like, okay. And so I was like, can I please see it? And they're like, okay. So they let me in, and I wasn't mortified, but I was shocked. Like, when they had told me on the phone, Teal, it's bad, it's horrible, you're not going to want it, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, it can't be that bad. And then I got there and I was like, oh, it's that bad. But I still wanted it. I still was very excited. It was just that I was starting to realize how much work it was going to be, and that we weren't hiring people for that part of it. That was going to be me and my friend. So that was all going to be on us. And
like
it
the
was
manual labor of cleaning that out, that was on you.
Oh, we cleaned everything out. We took everything out. We had to take, I was wrapping her salt shakers.
Wow.
Bubble wrapping this woman's salt shakers.
You have a friend who helped you with this?
I was gonna say, that's your BFF for life, girl.
I'm not even giving up her name because I don't want anybody else to befriend her. She's like the best person in the world. I'm gatekeeping her so hard. No one can even know who it is. She's the best.
Wow.
But
wow.
Yeah, and so it was funny because after they had accepted our offer, they were supposed to leave by a certain day at 6 p.m. That's when our key exchange was going to be. So I show up at 6 p.m. and I walk into my new living room, And it had been a little cleaned out, like they had made a dent because you couldn't even walk into the living room before. And at this point now you could see the couch that had been covered for years. It was kind of starting to get the boxes off of it and things like that. And so she's sitting upon the couch and she has her head in her hands and she's crying. And my bestie, she's from the South, so she's real sweet, you know? And so we go in and I'm like, oh God, like she's crying. And I'm like hitting my friend and I'm like, what do we do? And she's like, be nice, like she's crying. So
Be
she
nice.
like walks up and she's like, she like goes and she puts her arm around her and she's like, it's okay. Like, I'm sure this is really overwhelming for you and to see all your stuff and blah, blah, blah. But like, you know, we'll help you guys. We're here to help you guys and whatever. And basically all of her movers had quit on her the day that we were coming. So there was so much stuff that she had still wanted to take with her. And also she was in really bad health and all the people who lived with her were in very bad health. So they weren't really able to pack trucks and load things and pick up dressers. And so we did that. Me and my friend did that because we were like, you know what? We're either I told her, I go, we're going to have to pay to throw it away. So it's actually cheaper for us to load it for her and to put it in her moving trucks. So for about 3 days, we helped her load her moving trucks. And during those 3 days, she was going to get boxes and tape and bubble wrap. And she was treating us like we were the movers. And it's like, the story is insane. Like, even remembering this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. And me and her got into an argument at one point, and I was screaming at her, and I was like, you're sick, you're sick. And it was like going back and forth. But then towards the end of it, you know, I was just like, I'm really sorry. Like, I got so frustrated. There was so much stuff and it was so chaotic. And then she was, you know, requesting a lot out of us. And at that point, it's like, you know, this house is mine. Like, I bought it and I bought it with all the stuff in it. So it's actually mine. I'm doing a very nice thing by helping you and letting you keep it and letting you, and not just throwing it away. So it was just really like emotional for both parties. But yeah, it was an experience I'll remember for the rest of my life for sure.
Corianne, this is her first flip. And not only has she swooped in with little angel wings on her back, now she's got a best friend who's just, you know, ride or die right there in ground zero filth, frankly. I say that with loving kindness because I can't even tell you how many shoes I've thrown away or outfits I've even thrown away from homes like this that I've been in. It was intense. And, you know, this is a great part of the story too, for the audience, because yeah, there's the Hoarder show. I've watched a couple episodes and I'm sure, you know, they do a few before and afters, but for the most part, television is just trying to execute on a camera ready product. Like, oh, here's the really crappy part, but wait, look what happened. It's so exciting. And then they don't really talk about, I haven't seen a show yet where they've, aside from Hoarders, like the actual show, but that's not like a fix or flop or flop or fix type of a thing. It's just talking about, you know, the illness,
the disease,
the disease in and of itself. That's what we're dealing with out here as agents, as investors. And so for the audience at large that might be interested in this, or agents that are interested in getting into the world of investment that hasn't been broom swept. We call it like a broom swept, like where all the stuff is gone and somebody just went through with a broom. You know, it needs the carpet and the paint, or it's still a fixer. But when you walk into something like this and the person is still there, or worse, there's squatters in there, this is where you take your real estate agent hat off and put your psychology hat on. And it really takes something. So I commend you, TL, and your friend, that you had that heart and that compassion for someone who, frankly, it sounded a little bit like she was going down the road of manipulation and taking advantage of, you know, for you guys.
Well, yeah, that was why I had started to kind of lose my temper, because I feel bad, like even like really saying that. I'm a really kind person, you know. I'm not violent or mean or temperamental, really. So it takes a lot to really get me to that space to make me even want to yell at someone. And she was really pushing it after a while. Like, me and my friend, there was a point where we were in the kitchen and we just started, there was huge trash bags. We were using trash bags and there was just so many cups, like the cups from the beginning of time, forever. Every cup that had ever been made was there. So we just started throwing things away because there was only so much that we could donate. And like, we were kind of making fun of it at one point, like, because we were like, we need to make this like at least a little fun or we're gonna go insane. And so we're like throwing the cups behind us and like catching them in the bag, and they were breaking, and you could just hear her in the other room like, oh. But we were like, dude, she took 7 truckloads. We packed 7 trucks for her.
Where did those
7.
trucks go?
The dump.
Arizona. She bought a bigger property in Arizona for
Her
her
stuff. Oh my God, her stuff was 7. I thought you meant like
That's
stuff
a lot of
away.
trucks.
Okay,
for
so
one person.
7 U-Hauls. Picture you this: 7 U-Hauls packed to the brim. Okay, like Tetris packed in there,
Mhm.
and then we went through 3 40-yard roll-offs.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
And this was a 1,200 square foot house. This was not like a mansion. It
Yeah,
was a
incredible.
normal sized home.
Wow.
That takes so much love and compassion, and holy moly, like incredible. And thank goodness the world has people like you
Wow.
who are interested in, let's take this incredibly difficult thing and let's make it beautiful. So
Yeah.
after you got everything out in 330 or 30-foot roll-offs, which is just an incredible amount of crap. I think I've filled one of those on my flip, and so I can't even imagine. What happened after? We got everything out. What did you find in the bones?
So actually, surprisingly, so the hallway bathroom had mold in the ceiling. That was like gross. To be honest, this was the cleanest hoarder house. It was so weird. There was not a bug. There was not a dead rodent. There wasn't a dead cat, Fifi, hiding in the yard anywhere. Like nothing. There was a possum that died. I had to clear out a dead possum. But other than that, it was fine. There was one little tiny section of wood that needed repair because it had termite damage on it. But it was literally like a 2x4, like this big, like nothing. So, and the attic was the cleanest part of the whole house. Like, it was actually fine. The bones were fine. It was just the amount of labor it was going to take to remove the stuff to get to that was what was so deep endy about it.
How long did it take?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
While she was there with us for 3 days packing, and then she split, and then it took us an additional 4 days, 16-hour days, 16-hour days, and then we had it done.
You hustled that though. Like I could see so many people being like, 2 weeks, I'll move things out, when I'm done on my W-2, that kind of like attitude. But holy moly, you moved that much stuff in 4 days after the 3 shoes gone?
I had people for demo that were going to come and help me, and I told them a day, and I didn't want to move it because I'm a hairstylist. I had to do this in between my full-time job. And so I was like, nope, this day is demo day. Like, that's why it ended up being 16-hour days. Because even my friend, she would like, after like 10, 12 hours, bless her heart, she'd be like, I can't do this. And I'd be like, you go, I'll stay. I'll see you back at the house. Like, this is my bag anyway. And so I would just stay and like bust it out. And then next morning, same thing. I'd get there really early. She would come, she would help for as long as she mentally could stand it. And then I would stay and kind of finish and do everything else. But yeah, we had people coming to demo. It needed to be done by that time frame. So,
Wow.
and that was only the inside too, like the backyard. We still had to clear out barns, like storage containers, all kinds of stuff. I had to break down like a huge not working fireplace. Like this is just the house. So like the whole backyard was like it was like doing 2 projects,
Yeah.
It's interesting that you're saying that because that goes back to, everybody wants to get in until they have to roll up their sleeves, right? Like, oh, real estate's so simple,
That's another thing that I was going to kind of bring up is this specific house took a very special person, and like I'm not being like, oh, like pat on the back, like, yes, what I did was really great. This would have not, like, a lot of people could have not handled this 100%. And there was moments where I was in it going, oh my God, I can't do this. What did I do? What was I thinking? Why did I pick this? Like, please, dear God, help me and give me the strength today. Those types of days. And then after I had already kind of like gotten through it and that passion high wore off, then I was like, wow, I really see why people were calling me crazy for doing this. Like, I'm like, now I can really get it. But it was just a matter of like thinking of the end goal. Like, okay, why did I start this? Why do I want to do this to get through it? Because it was not simple, and it was not easy, and it was not something for probably a first timer, unless you had a bunch of money in the budget. That's the other thing. So to get this house, to actually have this opportunity, we had to do a lot of things ourselves to make the budget make sense.
Right.
So I didn't
Yeah, because
have that
you had to
luxury
bid
hire.
to get there.
Yeah. And we're doing this in Southern California, guys. This is technically it's in Ventura County, but it's more or less, like LA County, that part of Southern California. And, the rest of the country laughs, but there's good spreads here. And a lot of it is just getting in, whether you're buying this house as Teal did a flip and it was the end product, or whether or not you're buying it in its current state to flip it. There's no two ways about it. It is not inexpensive here in comparison to other states. So just the pay to play is it's a higher level. I mean, you heard right here, the audience can hear exactly without even seeing the property, the before pictures. They've seen a property like this before, either on television or live, if they are investors right now, or even agents that travel in this lane like me, where I've essentially seen this house before. And this is the joke. It's $607,000 for a house that's a standard size. It's not even in city, it's not even like LA proper, like Hollywood or whatever. It's on the outskirts. And this is what it costs, but you did it. You did it, and it's a testament to not only you doing it, but also that people are here doing business, and that people will purchase a property like this in its current condition, number one. Number two, that there are people that want to purchase the property in it as a finished product, and we're going to get there. So yeah, Corianne, any thoughts on sort of that and where she's at in the process of the story?
Yes, and I just want to note that I talk to a ton of agents every day, and so many of them are like, I list every property. No, you don't. Like if you're doing your job as an agent and you're going out there and you're making the calls direct to seller and you're seeing who needs your help, you are going to run across people like this, and you're not going to list it in that kind of condition. You need people like Teal, you need people like me and Renee to be there to take on those kinds of projects, because you're right, Teal, like it takes a special kind of person. Like it just does. So, like, will you kind of oh, sorry, Renee, what?
That's okay. I had somebody interrupt me. Sorry. It's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, got you. Okay, fast forward us through did you have a lot of contractors? Like, get us through the flip and what that looked like.
So, yeah, I mean, another point to us being in California, cost of labor, cost of materials is extremely high here versus where flippers are flipping in other states in the United States. And I didn't know anything. I kind of knew people, but like not really. And so I was like, whatever, like I'll just call around and like get a bunch of bids from people. And so I think someone had told me to get 3 bids, but I got 9. And all 9 of them were like double what I thought are.
Uh-oh.
Oop. We lost her for a second, but I'm sure she'll be back.
She'll be back. So, it's interesting. Yeah, she'll be back or not. This is what's live, right? We'll do the best we can.
No, but we can chat about, because my goodness, I didn't realize it was a hoarder house and there was that much stuff to get through before she even got started. Which for most newbies would make them like run, but not Teal.
And Teal essentially purchased it, sight unseen. I mean, she had her mom go over there, but there's nothing like seeing it yourself, and it is your project. So talk about just throwing yourself out there. I mean, this is going to be a story for the record books. It's not only your first flip, right, but it's just the story that goes with it. So we can fast forward probably a little bit, but there you are. You've essentially gotten the house clear. We'll fast forward to that part. You've gotten the house clear. You're standing amidst what I like to refer to as a broom swept house, right? So that's your canvas. That's the start. And then you were now hiring labor, but you had your vision. You probably hired, we can just kind of punch list it. So I'm assuming you hired the labor. You hired an architect to help you as well? Or are you just doing all this winging it?
So we got lucky. So we had done all the demo, and there was this stupid, ugly post, and it was like the death of me. I had to get rid of it. And all the contractors that had come over were all saying that it was load bearing and that it was going to cost more money and cost more time and cost more permits and cost, which we didn't have. And I knew that we wouldn't be able to get the price for the house if that post was there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I was like, that thing has to go. And luckily our neighbor was an engineer. We didn't know at the time, but we were complaining to him about the issues that we were having. And he was like, oh, like, when's everything getting started? And So we were just complaining to him, and he was like, well, let me come take a look at it. And we're like, yeah, come on over. And so he came and looked at it, and he's like, it's not load bearing. You can take it down right now. He's like, I'm an engineer. This is what we do. Like, I have a lot of projects, and I help people with flips and renovations all over Simi Valley. And so we were like, do you have a team? And he's like, yeah, I have a team. And we were like, can we have them? And he was like, yeah. So he sent us his team. We trusted them. They were quick with it, and they were super affordable. So it was really great.
See, Corianne, this is real estate just in a quick nutshell, right? So I've been saying for years that real estate, and then we'll call it real estate, the umbrella, not just the investor side of things, that real estate is the most faith-based, non-denominational business you will ever be in, because you really, it's going to test you. And whatever denomination you are not in, that's why I say the most faith-based, non-denominational, faith-based business that you'll be in. So here you are, Teal, you came in, you had an intention, you and your friend, right? You did right by that lady. And now it's like, if we can put a spiritual context to it, right? The universe provided there. You were so random, right? The neighbor or not, right? The neighbor's right there. He comes over, he says what he says, he's got everything, and there you're on your way. So these are those moments, I'll just say to the audience, right, because we're speaking more or less to a real estate audience, that when you're out there on those streets, whatever you're doing with your prospecting and door knocking and, looking for your next deal, basically, that remember to be in your heart and just be open and just say, okay, I need help here. Like, I need help, universe, if you will, and just be open to that, because you never know where that next person is around the corner. So the neighbor swooped in and helped you. So go ahead.
Yeah, so we got their team. We used them for 90%. We had to use a couple of people or other contractors for a couple of things, like we had to get our own fabricator. And that was the only thing that ended up costing us time. Our team was on time with everything. They had the entire flip done within 3 months.
Wow.
So we had a huge delay, and that was with our fabricator, and he delayed us by 2 months, which was like death. We were like wanting to die at that point. But in hindsight, it worked out because the rates had came down while those 2 months delay was going on. And so I think if we had not had those 2 months and we had finished it 2 months prior, then we may have not gotten the same buyer. The universe wouldn't have worked out the timing and everything like that. So at the time I was freaking out. Like, I went down to his shop. I showed up at the fabricator's shop 3 times because I was like, where is my stone?
Stone was what you were getting fabricated? And what was it for?
For the countertops for the kitchen and for the bathrooms. So literally everything was on pause. Our contractor team was like, we can't come back. We have to go do other projects because we can't do anything at your house until the countertops are all on. Once they're on, give us a call. So I was going down like every couple weeks to this guy's shop. Like, where are you? Why isn't this getting done? Like, let me see where my stone is. Like, I'm going to take it to somewhere else. I'm going to have it transported, like all the things. And so finally he ended up getting it done, and it was beautiful. His work was beautiful. It's just that, he had all his own excuses. He's a human. So unfortunately, you're dealing with humans in this business.
Dealing with humans is right. And dealing with contractors, right? Everybody, again, back to HGTV. Oh, I'm just going to make a quick $100,000 at what expense? Either your dollars or your time and your mentality. It's
I was going to say your mental health. Well, and then, I had to really big girl up. I had to do a lot of things that I didn't want to do. I don't want to go drive down to the valley and yell at somebody about a stone. A man. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? But I had to. And I had to act like that's who I am. That's what I'm going to do, even though that's so not who I had my mommy with me, like holding my hand,
Yeah.
I'm like, Mom, you yell at him.
And it is what it is, right? This is not a sexist comment. I want to be sensitive to that, but it's kind of a boys' world. It still is. I mean, most contractors, most flippers, most, people in the investment world, maybe not so much on the retail side of things, like a residential real estate agent, but in the investment world, it is. And, there's a reason why a book a couple of years ago from a gal who was basically made like an all-female investor group nationwide. She wrote a book called The Only Woman in the Room. And that only came out about 3 years ago. She was always the only woman in the room. So she'd go to these REI events and investor events because that was her niche. She was never a real estate agent. She just went to the investor groups, and they were all cool to her until they went into their networking events. And they were like, oh, that's nice that you're here. Thank you. But we're going to network amongst them ourselves. So you can imagine you, Teal, down there with a whip, right, on some contractor's, territory. And there you are trying to make it go faster. I mean, this is really par for the course of anybody who's even a female looking to do flipping. It's a thing, so don't kid yourself. Yeah.
Well, and it's this tango, it's this dance, because you want to be stern so that people take you seriously, but you don't want to be too mean and then piss someone off and ruin a relationship. So it's this very distinctive art of conversation that you need to learn how to get your points across and to be heard and not be called the B word,
And this is what we deal with, right? So I'm glad we sort of brought that up lightly. But you put your good big girl pants on, even if you had to have mommy there. But she was your partner. She wasn't technically that, right? She was your partner in this. So hey, you guys were going down together. Your mom's a force. I've seen her, So there you are, you two, that like beautiful women, right? Like strolling up. So now you've got the guy's attention, but then you're going to like lay it down. That velvet hammer came right down. You're like, I need my stuff.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise it's like, because it's like you're costing us money, like that cost. So because our mortgage was $5,000 a month, that 2-month delay costed us $10,000. Like you have to think of it like that. And so he's telling us all these excuses and stuff, and I'm like, I understand that life happens, but I could take my stone to get it cut somewhere else. So what's happening? Are you cutting it, or is someone else cutting it? Like we need to make that decision.
Yeah.
And I remember
because now you've added $10,000 to the cost of that, basically.
Now, well, and we were saving money. It was so annoying. We got the price haggled down for the material, and then we also got his labor haggled down. So we were saving. We were like, oh my gosh, we saved so much money. But in hindsight, we actually would have saved more money if we just went the expensive route, because it wouldn't have costed us the $10,000 waiting.
Oh. Well, but this is live and learn, guys, right? The audience. I mean, you think you don't know. This is life. This is the beautiful thing about being a human being, is that you take risk. And now we've all chosen, on the screen and this audience, most likely we are in a, risk-based business. If you don't want to be in a risk-based business, I say respectfully, probably have a government job, because that's probably the last vestige of anything that will not be risky. You don't just get fired, or they don't just close down, right? And so, I mean, because I grew up in DC, I can use that as an example. But we really are in it's very risky, but this is kind of the exciting part. So there must have been, as annoying as it was, and the road of tears, and you throwing yourself on the floor saying, why did I do this? Take us home. Like, where was the piece de resistance? Like, where did that just shift for you?
Yeah, because you're 5 months in now at this point. So, and when's your hard money loan over? Is it a year or 6 months?
6
What's
months.
the tightness of this timeline?
It was a 6 months. Yeah. So that was also like the other thing, is that it was like, we need to be done. We don't have time to not be done. So after the countertops had been laid, the rest of the house was like nothing. The contractors were basically saying, they're like, dude, we'll be in and out of there in a week. We just got to get the countertops down so that we can finish what we need to finish. So when they came in, they were right. I think it took 8 or 9 days longer after the countertops, and then we were good to go, and it was done. During those 2 months, we had to do the landscaping ourselves. So me and my handyman put a lot of work and time and hours and labors and sweat and tear and blood into the backyard while we were waiting for the countertops and stuff like that. So it kind of bought us a little bit of time, because the backyard was actually a lot bigger of a task than what I thought it was going to be. So it all ended up working out.
And, I had the pleasure of coming in at the end, right? Because I didn't see the before until you and I met in a community that all three of us are in. It's a pay-to-play community, but that's how we met. And I know you were kind of at your bitter end. And if we can, just for the sake of time, because this story is so intriguing, like there's so many ways we could go. But anyway, Corianne, thoughts on, before we shift gears a little bit on the after part of it?
Are you kidding? I'm here just interested in the story. And we are all a part of the group. It's called Astro Flipping. If anybody's interested in learning about wholesaling investment from that side, they're an amazing group. You about them, but I wasn't there on that call. So I don't know what that interaction, or how you guys met and paired up to get this to the finish line. So
well, I could paraphrase it. And Teal, you can just, yes and no it. So Teal, I don't, and I don't think it's gonna be interesting, like how you found another member, so to speak, because I think you were in like a Facebook group or some other sort of online component where there was some live action and another member, his name's Todrick, in our group in Astro Flipping, was in there. And I think the two of you got together and you exchanged information. And I'm assuming he was like, it's all the things, it's amazing, you should join. And you made the decision and you threw your hat over the fence. It's not exactly inexpensive, to join. It's a one-time fee, but it's not inexpensive given where you were. And I remember on Tuesday nights, we have our long nights. It starts at like 4:00 in the afternoon. And sometimes it goes till 9:00, almost even 10:00 at night. And the gentleman who runs it, his name's Jamil Damji, and he answers everybody's questions and makes sure that they're supported. And there you were. I think it was like 9:00 at night. It was a little bit later, so all the East Coasters had basically gone to bed because this is nationwide.
That's why I wasn't there.
All the East Coasters had basically gone to bed. It was kind of like the West Coasters, if you will, were left over, which is still a good amount of people. I mean, hypothetically, maybe 50, 60 people, something like that. Anyway, and I was listening to your story, and feel free to paraphrase your story, but I was listening to it and it just sounded like, oh my gosh, this gal really got raked over the coals across the board and probably wasn't going to make anything for all this hard labor. Me being the seasoned agent that I am, also a nice person, I had a lot of just compassion for where you had been. And I'd heard this story before in a different way, right? Like, somebody had the wrong person, this didn't work, that didn't work, everything does not working. And so, it just was awful because you didn't have any help. I felt like you didn't have any help. So I knew that I could help you. And my side of the story is, I'm not sure why I really wanted to help you, but I think there was a lot of spiritual context. I didn't know you. Yes, you're in our group now. And I just want to say that for the audience. I didn't know you. You were like new to the group. You came on, I was listening to your story. It's like, I could have been like, well, so what? That happens to people when they get into flipping, and so be it, But I decided I want to help you. And I realized that I don't know how much money you did or didn't have to pay me or a commission. But I decided that I was going to do it as like a pro bono, I was just going to do it for free. And I think you can pick up the story for there, and then we'll punctuate it at the end on how it actually ended. But I think you were probably like, how is this even possible that I just joined this group and anybody's even caring or wanting to help? I'd love to actually hear your side of it.
Well, when I first got into doing the flipping, everyone told me like, get your real estate license. You should really get your real estate license, but just know that it's a very cutthroat, competitive industry and blah, 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 all this stuff. And so I wanted to get further into real estate because I was like, this is going to be the direction that I want to go with my career now. So I wanted some kind of training or schooling because, like you said, I knew nobody. Like I knew what I knew, but now looking back, I knew nothing and I knew nobody. And I thought that I knew something just from watching HGTV. And so I had found Astro. And when I went on that call, I was just super desperate, to be honest. I didn't even have the money to join Astro. Every single one of my paychecks was going towards the flip. And we just got so screwed on so many different things. The budget kind of went up and out of control. We went $45,000 over budget. So that really ate into any amount of profit that we were gonna get. And then we were just looking at breaking even and being happy with that. But even at the break even price, I'm realizing now after everything has finally closed, we would have been out. We would have had to write something at that break even price. We would have lost money. So that wasn't actually our break even. So yeah, I was so lost when I got on that call. And when I talked to Todrick, he was telling me like, this community is not cutthroat. They're not competitive. Everybody can eat. There's room for everyone. We want to help each other. And I was just like, really? Like, that's so weird. Like, it's real estate. Like, you've never heard that ever. No one ever says that. So when you had jumped on, I think that was the first time that I had even been on one of the calls. Maybe I had been on to listen or watch a couple of them and just kind of get the drift of it, but I had never spoken or raised my hand, And so then to have that kind of kindness and grace and just like it was really powerful. It was a really magical moment, if you will. and it just kind of reinstills your faith in humanity. And then I got to see what everybody meant about this astro flipping community being a community and being a place where you build relationships, friendships, and more. And it was just it really was the best thing that I possibly could have done. I'm a big spiritual person, so I know a lot of people in the world are not like that. So I like to say like, oh, it's by God's grace and that He led me there and it was meant to be by the universe. But if people don't believe in that kind of thing, then just think of it as like good karma, like because maybe I helped that lady and I wasn't horrible to her that way that other investors probably would have been. They would have been like, get out of this house, I'm throwing away all your stuff, give me the keys, it's 6 p.m, you got to go, lady. So maybe because I didn't treat her that way, maybe the world then karma gave me back some kindness type thing, you know.
I like that you brought that up because, you know, I didn't quite finish my thought. I wanted you to interject, you know, and there I was right on the other side of the camera. You're telling your story and I'm listening right that night. And I swear I had this little voice that came into my head that said, help this woman. And I'm like, my ego, you know, came right in and was like, well, why am I going to help her? I don't really know her. What am I going to do? And literally it said again, help her. And I did have a moment of like clarity and logistics because I knew that this was going to be a finished product. I knew it was going to be a flip. You know, again, just my experience in this realm, that at the end of the day, it wasn't going to take a lot from me, you know, meaning my time or my energy, because I'm also running another business over here, right? And I'm doing a good thing, yes, but I'm running a business. So I ran that through my filter, just maybe 60 seconds. And that voice came in my head again and said, help her. And so that's why I just came off mute on this call. And that's when I said, you know, I will help you and I will forego my commission check to help you. And it's funny because I don't really know why I did that. But I wanted to. And you know what, it was just like I heeded a call. So just like I go back and I say that real estate is the most faith-based, non-denominational business that you will be in. I said that out of the goodness of my heart, wanting to help you. And it was my time to do so. And in the same breath, our fearless leader, Jamil Damji, he just came in and said, Renee, I will pay you money to help you a little, you know, help you with some of your expenses and so forth. And I just was, you know, that's a very beautiful thing to do. And ultimately we have closed on this house. So I will get paid, you know, through him, from him, which is beautiful. It's a nominal amount. I don't want to belittle him by saying that, but I mean, it was what he decided he could do. And it was significantly less than what the, you know, buyer's agent got. But here's what I want to punctuate to also for the audience is, you know, real estate agents, we get a bad rap a lot of the time, right? It's just for whatever reason we do. We're kind of like up there with ambulance chasers, the Harris poll every year, and they do it. They're like, oh God, ambulance chasers and the real estate agents. I think it's too easy to get in and it's too easy to get out. But you want to have somebody that has experience. I'm going to toot my own horn for a minute because to what you said, Teal, do you mind if I say what the amount was?
Yeah.
The house. Okay. So we
got to talk numbers towards the end too.
Like, yeah, well, we came on the market at $799. Okay. Beautiful finished house, by the way. I want to interject this. I've seen a lot of flipped houses, like many people have, because you can go on Zillow and stuff. But I mean, I've seen a lot of flipped houses, especially before and the after, because a lot of times I've had listings on these properties. So I've been there, Teal. I've been the one. I'm albeit the agent. I'm not buying the house, but I've been the one with all the dumpsters and the thing. So I get it, right? And oh my God, I'm just having a minute. I mean, it was just incredible that what you did to this property was so beautiful. And any house that has been flipped should have deserved this. But I knew when I saw those pictures, I'm like, this house is ultimately going to sell itself. I knew that. And I was so proud of you that you did such a great job. So we had 4 offers come in, all of which were right about at asking. And we had one rogue person that came in at $850. Now, when we looked at all the comps in that area, there wasn't one home with the comparable, you know, stats of that property that would have sold for $850. Here's experience, because I knew that what 3 things can happen if the appraisal comes back low. Either the seller is going to have to reduce the price, the buyer is going to have to come up with cash, or the contract cancels. That's it. And I knew this house was not going to appraise at $850. So I counter offered in the counter, I should say, we countered them that any amount of money over $830 And you told me that number, Teal. So any amount of money over 830, they were going to be responsible for. So ultimately, they were paying 850 for this house. Now, if I hadn't had the experience to do that, Teal, you ultimately, even in my generosity, would have still brought a check to the closing table.
Right.
So
And that's because the appraisal would have come in around 830.
The experience, I wasn't sure what the appraisal was going to come in at. We thought maybe, Teal and I thought maybe 825, 830. We were hoping for that. And there was evidence for that. There was actually a flipped home within a reasonable amount of time that was kind of the ultimate comp. But the appraisal came in at 812. Guys, you don't know. The appraisal came in at 812. So I said a lot right here, but if you go back and re-listen to this and really do the math, even at 812 with Teal's own closing costs, so that's the commission just to the buyer's agent and her own actual closing costs at escrow. And I had a discount with her at escrow because I knew the escrow officer was the escrow I had used. So it was as low as it was.
Connections.
Right. And even that wouldn't have covered it. So I'm tooting my own horn. And I'm also saying that for other agents out there, that experience really matters, because Teal, if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't had a forethought to do that, then most likely you were going to have to reduce the price and or cancel the contract. And the only other people that were in the wings were the ones at asking. And so we really would have been, up the creek, so to speak. So it was a team effort. Right?
I have so many hats.
Yeah. So ultimately, Teal,
I
didn't look at the HUD, but I think you were able to actually walk away with something, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. It was well enough that my mom, because originally when we were doing all this, she's like, this was too much work. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't know why you thought that this would be a good idea. I hated it. She was so traumatized. And then after everything was all said and done, she's like, so for the next one, I was kind of thinking, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, so now we can do another one. She's like, only because we made a profit. She's like, if we didn't make any type of a profit, no, absolutely not. So, but because of you, I'm able to flip again now, because like my mom would have told me no.
Right. Because even if you guys, closed it, you still wouldn't have made it. Oh, after all that, right? The dirtiness and your sweat equity and everything else. And now you're at the finish line. You have a beautiful finished product and you're like, damn, we didn't even make any money off this. It's like,
well, and then it's almost like at that point, because like towards the end, that's how we started feeling like, oh my gosh, we're not going to make any money on this. And I was like, everything that we were buying, we're like, well, we're basically giving this to the new owners. Like, okay, we're going to buy this. You're going to give it to the new owners. Like, that's just money out of your pocket for the new people. You don't even get to enjoy it. So it just like that fear, that thought, it hurts. It hurts more than your wallet, So to have it turn out the opposite way was just, I have no words. Like, we were so beyond grateful.
Well, we all
I'm grateful that this conversation happened, but also that you did have the forethought and the connections to find the kind of community that, I mean, I'm with you. I'm a creative person, and when I initially came into the investment side of things, I came in not in astro flipping and in a different kind of group and a different kind of atmosphere, and it was very much elbow to the nose. And if you're in an art world that's going after paintings and museums and those kinds of things, I was used to the elbow and the nose, but I wasn't used to giving it to people who weren't players, and that's sellers. Like, sellers are not players in the game that take the elbow to the nose. And that's why we have to be able to come in and know the data and have the right kinds of communities that can support that. And you went after it and you found it, and you were first vocal and put your camera on to even come to Astro, because that takes a little bit of gumption. That puts the big girl panties, as we've been saying in the first time. And you did that. And I'm just so excited that you're going to be flipping again, because I know without breaking down the numbers that the difference between the 20K that you had to give hard money lender for those 2 months and the fact that Renee is gushing over your design and the end product means that that money difference is in the fact that you're good at what you do and you're good at bringing things to beauty and to life. And you risked that for beauty and for that life that you put into that house. And I'm so glad that you guys met to be able to relieve you of that, so we get to have your art in the future.
Yeah, thank you. That's so beautifully put.
Yeah. And it's true. And I said that in a post in our group, in our private group, that the perceived, right? Because there's always a perceiving negativity, even though it stunk. Okay.
Mhm.
It's still a perception, because you could talk to somebody who's done, 100 flips and they're like, well, that's the par for the course. You're going to get one on the chin every now and again. It just, yours happened to be the first one out of the gate. And so, just to stay the course. And we've all been so blessed. I felt what I felt. Jamil contributed as he did. For myself, I wasn't expecting that. So that was a beautiful contribution, to me. And then it was all very cyclical, as is life. And so, I think really my personal takeaway, and I want to hear the two of you ladies, and we'll wrap this up. But my takeaway is that, you really just, everything's going to work out. Everything's going to work out, because no matter how it works out, that's how it's going to go. And so when you can have grace for yourself and some maturity and responsibility for what's happening at the moment, I really think that you'll be met there, right? You'll be met with other people, whether you want to say that's the universe or just other people. Circumstances will be put in front of you to where you get to just shine and grow, because I don't believe in losses, right? You're either going to kind of win, which is maybe the vision that you had, or you're going to learn. And
Right.
I'm like, we all have had both in this instance, because as much as I did or didn't walk away with all the monies, and that's not everything about this, you, Teal, contributed to me in this way, in a way that you don't know. It was a way that I got to actually lean into the universe. Like, the universe will take care of me. And it did take care of me in this instance, and it will continue to take care of me, not because I'm owed something, but because I know that it felt like it was the right thing to do. And I heeded the call based on nothing, based on, I really don't know why, So
Yeah.
I think that there's a friendship here for us, whether we decide to work together or not in business. I know that we will still remain friendly. And, that's kind of my 2 cents, in terms of this business. And just let it wash over you. Let it contribute to you. Let it have people walk into your life that you're going to have no idea how it will contribute to you. And 18 years later, at least being in this industry, I can say it still contributes to me. So stay on the edge of real estate, definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's beautifully put. And I kind of already gave my final statement, which is I'm here for seeing more artists and more creative people in real estate. And I'm here to see more collaboration over competition in real estate. And I think you both have brought that beautifully. And I'm so glad I got to hear this story. Now, Teal, as you give your final thoughts, I also want to hear what you need and what you want, so that we can continue to share that with our audience. Like, what are you looking for in your next flip, maybe, wink, wink, or what you need in your business?
Yeah.
Because I just want to energetically create it with you.
So as far as flips go for the future, it really worked out well that we did this flip in Simi Valley, because my mother is located there and she was hands on deck a lot. I really relied on her and the handyman. He lives with her. They have like a different kind of relationship, and they really showed up every single day. So definitely, if I could stay within Simi Valley, that's like kind of where I would like to flip. I grew up there, so like that's kind of my ties are there. I really like that town as far as building it for family homes. I really liked my upbringing while I lived there. And then so yeah, Simi Valley would be the best. But I'll flip anywhere. I would go to, as long as I can drive there. I live in Venice Beach, so if I can drive to the valley, Simi Valley, Ventura, and then I would just stay, like, while I was doing that, I was staying with my mom. So those are the kinds of things that I would probably want or need, is just single family homes that are, even if they're another hoarder house and in the worst condition, I'm not afraid of that. And Simi Valley or the Valley would be the best, just so that it's easy for us to drive to.
Oh, that's amazing.
With a nice big spread, everybody.
And that's LA County mostly, guys. If you live out of the area of Southern California, it's mostly LA. We won't get too particular about where Simi is, but yeah, like greater LA. And by all means, we'll put Teal's contact information in here. And if you like both of us, hit us up. I'm here in LA. I said in the beginning, I've been an agent for a long, long time. So I am an investor-friendly agent as well. I understand these processes and these types of homes. I'm not, highfalutin. So it's okay. I can walk in these dirty homes and I actually enjoy it. So if you're looking for an agent that understands that process, I'm here to help as well. Beautiful. Corianne, take us home.
Teal, before I take us home, give one last little plug, because I know that people can also have beautiful hair with you as well.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
Renee had some beautiful hair done by you.
She
which
did
we'll
my
see it
hair
now.
for last week. Look at Johnson Haven.
But for anybody who's lucky enough to be in Venice Beach or the Valley area, where can they find you for pretty hair too?
So I work at Trim Hair Salon right now. It's in Santa Monica on Main Street, but my phone number is 805-404-1643. And I do all of my appointments by text. So if you're looking for an appointment, just shoot me a text. And then I also moonlight at a couple other salons. So in Thousand Oaks and in Santa Monica is primarily where I'm working right now.
And she's phenomenal.
Perfect.
I've done a lot of stuff to my hair over the years, believe me. Now my hair is curly. It went curly. So I'm having to deal with
Beautiful
curly
hair.
Used to have straight hair. Now it's curly. So I got highlights and a cut and I felt beautiful and my hair was on point. And it just happened last week. And I had a very epic week and it was beautiful. I didn't have
And
to
then
do
she
a
went
thing.
to see Madonna, so like whatever.
That's awesome. So jealous.
Teal, it was so nice to meet you.
Thank
You glow inside and out, and I'm grateful to get to know you better, be a part of this cool female kick butt group in general. I'm going to be sending
Absolutely.
leads to both of you. And yeah, I'm just grateful for you both. I want to say thank you to our audience that tuned in to listen to this amazing story. We always love your feedback, and we'll see you next week.
Beautiful.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys. Thank you, Teal.
Bye.
Be well.
Thank you.